do that. All right. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, thank you for this beautiful night and this chance to gather and learn how we can recognize ourselves as gifts and give ourselves as gifts to others. We just ask that you bless each person here and those who want to be here but cannot. We ask that you help the words of my mouth be the words of your Spirit, and we ask that you help us to take something from tonight that we can live in our daily lives. In your holy and precious name we pray. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, so tonight is on the gift of self. And again, like most theology of the body topics, there's a little bit on how this applies in a marriage, and hopefully a lot more about how it applies outside of it. And this will pair with Thursday's class, which is on natural family planning. And so that will be kind of the practical side to this one. So before I say anything, when we're talking about gifts, I was just wondering on your side of things, what is one of the best gifts you have received, and why was it so special or so great?
And we talked to like spiritual gifts, or
it could be anything. It could be a physical gift. It could be anything that you consider to be when you think of that question.
Besides my children,
that's a good one.
My niece, I had the opportunity to raise her.
So what makes that so great?
She's a mini me.
Awesome.
I have thoroughly enjoyed her. My sons don't give me any attention, but her being a girl, we do so much together. And she's grown now. We even take vacations together. I haven't do anything with my son. She's 34 now.
Fun.
So we get together, and she calls me on a regular basis. My sons don't call me. So she's like one of the best gifts I've received.
Yeah.
Having her. And I never wanted a girl.
Yeah.
I never wanted one. And I got her to raise. She gave me when she was 4 years old.
Wow.
But she was one of the best gifts I have ever received. This is great. And then I have an adopted daughter that came to me, and she was grown.
Wow.
And to this day, I'm very much in her life and in her husband's life. I've seen him on the state card, and he called me up and,
nice.
And stuff. So, I mean, you can't put a value on that.
Yes. You've already hit at kind of the depth of this, that our selves are meant to be the greatest gift that we can give, for sure.
I'm going to say faith. And the reason I think it's such a gift and why it was so great is because it's the number one thing I think of when I think of my mom. That's what she was able to share and give, and why it's so great is because it's so steady through your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But isn't it amazing you can have like a parent who shared that, lived that. You pick it up, and you could have a sibling, same home, same everything, and they don't have that gift.
Yeah.
They just don't, and it would be too easy to take it for granted.
Yes, that's a good point. So the gift of faith, the gift of children. What else? You guys are way deeper than I was thinking.
You're thinking like walkie-talkie.
Yes, I was like, what is the coolest gift I ever got? I was thinking of this Dutch oven. John gave me a Dutch oven like a few Christmases ago, and for some reason, I think I had mentioned it at some point, but forgotten, and he knew how much I wanted it, and I was like, this thing is amazing. Like, I used it a lot. I love practical gifts. I love to cook, and so like that was mine, which is not quite the gift of faith or children.
20 birthdays, 20 Christmases. I'm not hearing a darn thing.
Yeah, come on, Luke.
Like the best gifts aren't material items, but the people who give them to you. And so it's like I feel gifts are the relationships.
Right. Yeah. And usually if it is material, if there is a material gift, there's so much more behind it that it's, you know, it depends on who gives it to you and why they give it to you. There's like such a story there. And that's what it gets at, really, that ourselves, that we as people are pretty much the greatest gift. And then that the ultimate person was willing to be the ultimate gift to us is really amazing. So that's just something to keep in mind as we talk about this. So John Paul II in Theology of the Body reminds us that, you know, this thing we started with, this theme of our original state being originally alone, originally united as masculine and feminine and part of in relationship with God as well, and then originally naked and vulnerable in front of God and each other. We have to understand that all as gift and understand ourselves as gift, like those things as gifts, and understand that because we're given those things, we are the ultimate gift. That at the very heart of God's creation is the fact of giving, of him giving to us, and then us having the opportunity, if we take it, to give back to God and to others. Anna Claire's religion book today was like emphasizing that God didn't need to make us. And that it's so important for me to realize that on a daily basis. It's humbling to realize like we're not needed, but then the fact that he wanted us, you know, that he made us as a gift for himself, for each other, and ultimately allowed us to participate in creation and salvation is really incredible. So to understand that creation is a gift, we have to understand that God is the creator and that he creates ex nihilo, out of nothing. He is the only creator who can take nothing and make it into something. So the Miss Craft Supply woman, right? Like there are so many in the world and they're all amazing and you can do so many creative things with them. But like, I can't make the supplies. Like Dee has to bring me all the supplies to make the things I want to make. We can't do it without supply. But God takes nothing, absolutely nothing, and makes it into something. And
think about creating something and nothing to thing, and in this room, right, and Dylan, right, that just kind of put my head on the side. God created time.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. Yeah, but before, no, you don't understand. He's outside of time.
Yes.
Right? Which, you know, that causes your brain to kind of do a flip, and then you come back on it, and it's like, he truly created everything.
Yes.
Including these dimensions that we just say are there.
Right. Yes. God created time is a big one. And that he didn't have to. So we believe that God is a Trinity, that he's already in communion and relationship with himself. So again, we are totally unnecessary. Like everything he makes is totally unnecessary to his fullness. He's full without us and he still wants us. Like that is mind-blowing to me. And knowing the fact that we could kind of mess things up a little bit, you know, but that goes back to the gift of children, right? We know when we have taken on raising a child that is not going to be smooth sailing, and yet we still understand the value in doing that and the gift that it can be, even with all the hard stuff along the way. And when your son doesn't remember to mention all the cool gifts you give him, right? Okay, so he creates humanity, he creates the world around us. There's beauty in so many forms that God gives to us. And that's one of the reasons I love being Catholic, is a sacramental mindset, to look around at the world and see God in it. And then particularly a Franciscan mindset that, you know, incarnational theology, that if God found creation worthy enough to bring his son physically into this world through another human being, then there must be something beautiful here. And there's so many beautiful things here.
And like, have you ever wondered that, you know,
we see with sunset and then there's things which are created, and I'm sitting, so I can't go through 100 reasons of why and why not, really, but we can, everybody in this room can go out and look at the sun setting and say, isn't that beautiful? It is like, no,
universal.
No, I like my sunset.
Yes. Yeah.
I prefer it to be snowing and wind blowing.
Right.
He created things that we live in it and enjoy it.
Right. Yeah, there's a universal appreciation for beautiful things, and the standard of beauty is God. is God. So he creates because he is love. But when we look back at the creation account, as amazing as it is, we don't see him say like, and I'm doing this out of love. So how do we know from those creation accounts in Genesis, if you look at, him creating day by day, and if you look at him creating humanity, what to you is the evidence that he's doing so out of love in those stories in particular? I'm thinking of particular words, but maybe you can think of something else. What is it that shows us that God is love in the creation accounts?
Well, he said everything was good.
Yes, he says it's good. And what he adds very to that on what day? He adds very good. He proclaims everything good. Yes. And so on day 6, and knowing that is not maybe a literal day, but on day 6, when he creates one thing in particular, he calls it very good. Man. Human life, right?
And he breathes.
Yes. He breathes his life into us. So in Genesis 1:31, we hear that God looks at everything he made and found it very good. And it was good enough. It was good. And then he creates humanity and says it's very good. And that is so foundational to Catholic teaching. And something I feel like we all tend to forget when we're interacting with others. But this is the foundational principle of Catholic social teaching, to recognize the dignity and value of each human life, because God found it good and breathed his own life into it, made it in his image, and then found, for those virtual, I am pointing at the crucifix every time I point elsewhere, but, found it worthy enough to sacrifice his own son. So we know that creation is made in love because he finds it good. And John Paul II says, love gives rise to the good and is pleased with the good. So that is where we make that connection between everything being good and between God being a loving God. We see this from the very beginning without the word love being used. So what's amazing is that every creature, like we talked about, the animals were amazing companions in a lot of senses, and they were very useful in the garden. Adam could work with them. So they all bear a sign of this gift of creation, and they are all considered good. But only humanity can be seen as the one that everything is created for. Why do you think that that's true?
We think. We make decisions. We can say yes or no.
Yeah. We have
a dog is a dog is a dog.
Right. We have that self-determination that we talked about the first night, that we get to decide things. And we have this, that is just a reminder again, that this is a beautiful gift, but it's all really for us. And it's not, he gives us dominion over it. And that has come up a few times as well. Dominion, not domination, over each other, over natural resources, over the creatures. Dominion is different than domination, and dominion allows us to care for it as stewards, recognizing that we didn't make it, it's not our own, and that, we will be accountable for it. All those parables Jesus tells with those talents and things, that's what he's talking about here, that this is all for us, but we're going to be accountable for how we use it. So to talk about gift as self, this idea of the dimension of gift means that humanity has to recognize our identity not in a vacuum. Like we can't do it as one person. And of course that comes to us we are meant to exist in communion and relationship. And if we exist in the image and likeness of a God who's a Trinity, then we too are meant for that kind of communion and relationship and unity that they have there. So this is a complicated idea and we will get into it, but we can only realize who we are, that we are a true gift, if we realize we are meant to exist for someone and with someone. I'm not just talking about like a romantic relationship there, but that we exist for somebody and with somebody. What is dangerous about saying that, of existing for and with someone else? How could we interpret that might be a little bit dangerous?
Codependence, subservience, you lose yourself.
Right. Yeah, you can lose yourself. You can become codependent. You can be subservient to a degree that is not in the line of Christ's service to others, and self-sacrifice. Anything else you can think of? I think of this. We are God's gift to the world, but I think of how we can turn that into like, I am God's gift for the world. Like that kind of mindset of, I exist because I make everything better, which like, again, you can hear that in two different ways, right? We are intended to make everything better. But if we make it all about ourselves, look at the biggest words here. It's not God's gift. It's I am. And we know that those are God's words to say, right? He says, I am who am. And we need to recognize ourselves as gift and not fall into either extreme, which could be, I need this other person to survive. I totally rely on this person for everything that I am. We also don't want to fall into this, which is I alone can be God's gift to the world and can do everything that, it's in my power to be God's gift to the world. So for a second, we have to talk about sex. This is a song title in case I will not play it, but I love to, that's actually a very catchy song. So I'll just leave it there. But when this is relating to the idea of sex, what it reminds us of is that sex is always dealing with a whole person. It's not just a body. So going back to last week, subject and object, we always have to remember that that's a full person there. And that body in front of us is revealing a true living soul. So when I played at last for you and we talked about that kind of feeling of relief, of complete comfort, that satisfaction that Adam has when Eve is created, what he's really saying, John Paul II tells us, is, look, this is a body in front of me that expresses a full person. Again, he had looked at the animals and he's like, well, that doesn't look quite like me, and he's using them for different things, but in no way is he finding his match. And so that a person's body is also meant to be a gift and a witness to love and a source of giving. And so sex itself is a sign of God's gift to us. So when we talk about this, in a class full of teenagers, this is why it's so important for them to get what's behind those actions that they might think they're ready for. But, to really say, you are accepting that full person into your life. And again, we're not going to spend the whole time tonight talking about sex, but sex in particular is meant to be a sign of God's gift to us. And often it's disconnected from what it's truly meant for. So again, looking back at Genesis, which we had looked at, I think at least 1 week, if not two, we see where the man says, this one at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This one shall be called woman, for out of man, this one has been taken. That is why a man leaves his father and mother and clings to his wife, and the two of them become one body. The man and his wife were both naked, yet they felt no shame. And here we see what it looks like to fully give oneself to the other. Again, they recognize each other as created uniquely from the animals, created uniquely by God, who loves them and wants to be in relationship with them. They recognize their complementarity as two people, and they're completely vulnerable, but in a beautiful, non-shame-filled way in front of each other. And that is the scenario in which they're able to give themselves as gift to each other. Of course, this again is in the context of like a sexual relationship and marriage, but like we can do that in so many different relationships. But we're always fighting to get back to recognizing our beauty as who we are in ourselves, created by a good creator who loves us, recognizing the beauty of the people around us, and then also being willing to be vulnerable enough to give ourselves as gift. To move this thing around. Okay, so we understand that from that sexuality in itself is ordered to an end, that it has a purpose. It's not just something that happens, but it is actually ordered to this purpose of gift of self. And that leads us to talking about freedom. So I promise we're not going to keep talking about sex the whole day, but it starts with this fact that sex is ordered to an end. We understand that sex is a powerful act, but it also frees us from making sex all about the body. And that is, sin is a jail. It's a prison. It does not want to free us as much as we think sin is going to be freeing. It traps us more and more. And so what we're aiming for, part of that is the shame spiral, which we talked about. But we're looking for true freedom, and that is what God wants for us. So we understand freedom when we're able to see ourselves as gift and offer ourselves as gift, expressing love to another person. So that is what we're aiming for. And that's why when we disconnect sex from a full person and make it just about a body, it starts to lead to sin and shame and being trapped, as opposed to true freedom that it's meant to be. So how, in your mind and experience, do you define true freedom?
Plagiarize,
sure.
It's not about doing whatever you want. It's being able to do what you should.
Okay, not doing whatever you want, but doing what you should. Good person to plagiarize, considering we're using his content. So yes. What else? Like when would you consider yourself truly free as an individual? Oh, the baby just came.
1 minute after walking out of confession.
Okay, so walking out of confession. So full of grace, free of the burden of sin, which we're talking about is trapping us. I think this is a really interesting question in our country, because the celebration of freedom is something that's so important to our nation, but I feel like everybody defines that so differently. And I'm always curious as to how people define this word, because, people say like, sing, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And that isn't true for everybody here, or it might be true for you, depending on what you say freedom is. So I think this is a really interesting question. Anybody else, virtual or in person, have thoughts on how we define freedom? Okay. Well, go back. In terms of theology of the body, we are taking it from John Paul II. And it does go back to what Mr. Cumbie said, that it's really self-mastery. If you had to put it very succinctly, freedom is the ability to master yourself. And because we can't give ourselves a gift, if we want to be able to fully give ourselves, we have to be fully free. And to do that, we have to master ourselves, which seems like the opposite of what you would want, right? Or the opposite, at least, of people's idea of freedom on a general level. It's like freedom is let loose, do whatever you want, but not really, because you're not free. Then you're Oh, somebody say something?
Oh, I said freedom is only freedom as long as it's within the context of our law.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Right. And in a moral sense, it's not to let loose and do everything we might desire, because again, your desire can trap you, or sin can trap you. And so the ability to master ourselves, not to like, I think sometimes self-mastery sounds like I'm in control of myself, but it's really an understanding of like, I know who I am and whose I am, and I'm able to live my life in line with those things. And so it is always connected to knowing that God is our true master. Okay, so that is what allows man and woman to enjoy truly giving of themselves, is true freedom. But what's important here is, again, we're not just talking about a marital relationship, because of course you can be free in or out of a marital relationship. And John Paul II spends a lot of time talking about continence for the kingdom. So giving up a sexual relationship and a marriage, which is a beautiful gift, to give yourself fully to God's kingdom. And that is still that gift of freedom. It's not to say like, oh, well, you can't be fully free because you can't express yourself within a marriage. You have the self-mastery and the freedom to say, I will renounce that beautiful gift for the sake of God's kingdom. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is so beautiful, and why I had Father Pat zoom in and talk to my students about the beauty in that choice, because it can often come into like a ranking thing in the church, like, oh, well, I'm not dedicated enough to God's kingdom because I've chosen marriage, or I'm weird for choosing to renounce the gift of marriage, when really we can only appreciate one of those lives when in light of the other. That we can appreciate the beauty of two people committing themselves to each other in marriage and giving themselves fully in that way. And we can appreciate the beauty of someone saying, that is such a beautiful gift that I'm going to give it up for the sake of God's kingdom and live as if I'm already there. Which, a little aside, during the month of Mary, we talked about why the Catholic Church believes and professes that Mary was perpetually a virgin. And this is a big part of it, because she was living the kingdom as if it already existed. And there will be no marriage in the kingdom. That's Jesus himself tells us that, which is sometimes hard to accept, but it will be better than marriage, more beautiful, more united than we can even imagine. Okay, so a lot of times freedom is associated with happiness. And what's interesting there is a lot of times when we go with the go crazy, do whatever we want, we think that's going to lead to happiness, and it doesn't. But true happiness means to be rooted in love. We know that we came from love, that God allows us the chance to initiate love ourselves. And so that true love is the gift of oneself. And the ultimate sacrifice of Christ on the cross reminds us of that. That's been true from the very beginning. And we want to maintain that happiness through this understanding of innocence, which gets lost a lot, because we want to fully accept each other. It goes back to that state of original nakedness and the toddler talk we've been laughing about, that this idea of fully welcoming each other with no reservation. And that is connected to being able to give yourself as a gift. You have to be fully open to give yourself fully and to receive somebody else fully. So those two things are linked from the very beginning. So as people alive today, knowing this about freedom, being self-mastery, knowing that leads to true happiness, and that love is the gift of self, and that requires innocence, how specifically do we go about experiencing true happiness? Anybody willing to unlock the answer to that?
I think one way is serving through love.
Right, serve through love. What else?
Putting others before yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, at first you wouldn't want to do it, but in the long run, you see ultimately it led to more happiness than if you say you want to be your own person.
Yes, putting others before yourself, even when the initial reaction to that or the initial desire is to put ourselves first, knowing it will lead to truer, deeper happiness. Anything else? I mean, I think those are pretty spot on. But that is what we do, right? What we're called to do, what we see Christ do. And it seems so simple, but we know how hard it is, which is why we keep talking about it as people of faith, that to truly give of oneself, we know even that Jesus says that's the greatest thing a person can do, lay down their life for a friend. And that it's so incredibly difficult to do. But if we know that that is true love, to offer ourselves as gift, to accept others as gift, what would you say would be the opposite of accepting another person as a gift? What would it look like to do the opposite of that?
Keeping them at a distance.
Okay.
And or saying, so you need to change.
Right.
Not accepting them as they are.
Not accepting someone as they are, keeping somebody at a distance. What else?
I think, Leanne, can I say something?
Go ahead. Yeah.
I think that this goes along with what somebody just said, but I think that in some senses, not giving of yourself. So it's like if you never let yourself be vulnerable, if you never show somebody your true self, I feel like you are creating that distance. But I think also, yeah, you're not bringing that gift,
right,
of yourself. Yeah.
Yes, right. If we're talking about reciprocality of being recognizing ourselves as gift and giving ourselves as gift and then receiving the other, both of those have to be true for this to be possible. Okay, so that's another one. Anything else? I think about, going back to just, wanting somebody to change or not accepting them fully as they are and how difficult that is. One of my Father's Day gifts to John, unknown to him, was just trying not to critique the way he did anything or ask him to do too much yesterday. I really realized how many times I ask him to do things or critique the way he does it. It was like I had to hold back all day long. And I was like, oh my gosh, who am I? Because he is so good at accepting me for who I am. And I was like blown away. I'm always blown away by that, like his gift to me of not continually critiquing and when he does have to, he's very good at, speaking the truth in love. But it's the opposite of accepting my husband as the gift he's meant to be when I am continually looking for the ways he's not being a gift in my mind, right? But all those things we've mentioned, those are the breakdown of relationships, right? Like everything we've said in a parenting context, in a friendship context, in a marital context, all the contexts we know of, those lead to the breakdown of relationship. And we know we're intended for communion and for unity. They lead us into shame, into rejection of others. And that is breaking apart our relationship with others. And we know that our love of God is connected to our love of others, because Jesus gives us those two big commandments together. So it's so important that we understand that. And ultimately, we are meant, like we talked about it being reciprocal, we need to exchange that gift. So we preserve our innocence, which is incredibly difficult to do, not just in the sense of, avoiding crude TV shows or bad jokes or something like that, but in this real sense of keeping ourselves open. And all those things we just mentioned are ways that we kind of close off ourselves, protect ourselves, or shove others away. But we cannot be gift or receive gift if we put up those walls. And it seems so simple, but like teaching this, I'm always like blown away by how easy it is to allow the world to kind of break us apart and break us down. And so in this way, giving becomes accepting, and accepting becomes giving. Because when you can fully accept another person as they are, again, it was one of my Father's Day gifts. It is a gift, right, to the other person to say, like, I accept you as you are. I don't know if anybody, I've been kind of on a soapbox about watching the Chosen, the new series about Jesus. And I think that is so radically and beautifully portrayed in that show. He still holds a beautifully high standard of how to live, but fully accepts people where they are. And that is in our scriptures, but it's like we forget about it when we go out into the world and we interact with other people. He is so accepting of who people are. And in that way, he's offering them a gift. And he is, asking for their best, but they're willing to give it because they don't see him, constantly critiquing them, that he is truly there to be in relationship with them. And that is what it means to be human and to be alive. So we have this quote from Theology of the Body, again in the context of marriage, but I think we can read it in the context of any relationship, that the man's act of self-donation in answer to that of the woman is for himself an enrichment. So giving of himself is a gift of enrichment to himself. That's not why he does it. He's giving it out of love for his spouse or love for another, but giving of ourselves is a gift. Like Luke was saying, when we put others first, although we initially might not want to, we recognize the beauty in doing that. And so, again, in the context of marriage, that's where we see that happen in the sexual act. It is the deepest way we can give of ourselves and the deepest way we can recognize ourselves for who we truly are. So he's able to both give himself and to receive the gift of the other. Of course, unfortunately, and to be a Debbie Downer, we have a fall. And what's sad about that is, and we can see that in the context of, what Becky taught on Thursday was pornography. And we connected that to how the person is taken away from being this beautiful subject and turned into an object. But there's so many examples of that in our cultural context today, where because of the fall, not only sexual, but many relationships are torn apart. And we treat each other rather than as subjects, as objects. But what's really interesting, even after the fall, is that John Paul II points out that it's not like God takes sex away. Right. So if God is author of all beautiful things and he sees us mess this up, if I were in charge of the world, it'd be like, well, okay, no more sex for you. You're done. You lose the gift of self in marriage. But what he points out is humanity continues to discover itself as the guardian of the mystery of the freedom of gift to defend this freedom from any reduction to the position of a mere object. So even through this veil of shame that we live in now, that we are constantly trying to escape, that we're not worthy, all the things that Satan wants to tell us, the lies that Satan wants to tell us that we know are not true, God doesn't take away our ability to give of ourselves fully. So even in a fallen world, we can give ourselves as gift, both within marriage. And again, I think that applies outside of a marriage or romantic relationship, that we can always look to redemption in the crucifix and look at what Christ did in a fallen world because of a fallen world, and see that we are meant to be gift to each other. So he doesn't take away that gift from us. And I want to end here because this leads into what we'll talk about next week. And I just want to briefly talk about that this is a sign for the world, that really marriage is like the first sacrament that we see in creation back at the very beginning, because our bodies in the act of sex are revealing to us this bigger dimension, this bigger reality that God wants us to be gift to each other. And again, it can happen with our bodies, but it can very much happen outside of that as well. So the body is capable of making visible what is invisible, which is basically the definition of a sacrament, right? An outward sign of God's invisible grace. And the body has been created to transfer into the reality of the world the mystery hidden from eternity in God. So again, within marriage, outside of marriage, we are people in bodies, and we are meant to be gifts to each other. And this is a sign of hope for us. Why is this ultimately a sign of hope? Or what is the hope that this is revealing to us?
A small taste of the divine to come.
Yeah, right. So sacraments are revealing to us tiny glimpses of eternal grace, beauty, God's gift to us. And there won't be sacraments in heaven, right? So there won't be marriage, like I said, but there also won't be the Eucharist, which at first, again, being here, you're kind of like, well, that's sad, but it will be a constant, God's constant presence to us. Like we will not need these visible signs of invisible reality, because the invisible reality will be completely exposed to us. Now, I don't know how all of that will work out, because we will still have bodies. Like we believe in the resurrection of the body. So it's not to say that we'll just be like floating around with no need for bodily things, because God created human bodies to always be united with their souls. So I don't know exactly what that will look like. Yeah, right. And according to Father Pat, we're all 19. I think Thomas Aquinas says, is it Aquinas? Maybe Luke would know. That says we're like 33.
Well, I feel like that would be something.
Yeah. And Thomas Aquinas talks a lot about what resurrected bodies will look like. So he says, the scars of the martyrs will be the only ones that still exist, and that all the rest of our scars will be wiped away, but those will be like crowns. So he has some thoughts on what resurrected bodies will look like. So it's not to say that, again, we'll be floating around like lights or something like that, but we won't need these kind of stand-ins to be little glimpses, because we'll have it fully face to face. And what a beautiful thing that is. So this will lead, like I said, into next week. I don't want to say too much about this idea of sacrament and sign, because next Monday's final theology part is marriage as a sign. And next Thursday, July 1st, we have a marriage panel. So 5 couples from our parish, ranging in how long they've been married, ranging in what stage of raising kids they might be at, ranging even faith differences within the family. Like all sorts of couples have agreed to be kind of interviewed on a marriage panel. And I am so excited that they all said yes, and that we get the opportunity to just hear about marriage as a sign of God's love. And that's where this kind of leads us, that marriage is ultimately a sacrament and a sign of God's love for us. So whether we're married or not, when we look at a marriage, we hopefully can be seeing what God's love for us and for the world looks like. So I hope you'll be able to come to that. I will try to do that one virtually. I'm not sure exactly how that will go, but I'm really excited about it. So any questions or thoughts on this big giant topic of gift of self? As we close, I would love to know what strikes you as a way you're called to give of yourself when you hear this. What strikes you as a way you feel called to give of yourself?
Can I say something, Leanne?
Yes, go ahead, Anna.
I think just to unashamedly own who I am and what I can give, and I realize that it's like, okay, that may not, by at certain times I may be embarrassed by it, or I may be a little bit self-conscious by what it is that I can give. But I think there's just something to be said for owning it. Recognize that it was a gift, that whatever it is a gift that I was given. There's got to be value to it. So give it. Don't be ashamed. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be shy. Give it.
Yeah. I think that's a beautiful reflection, like of what we're called to. And it's kind of like that quote, like God gave you your voice, so give it back to him, when they talk about singing in mass. It's like that, but with everything. It's like he gave it to us, so we need to use it and channel it for God's goodness. Awesome. Did everybody hear? Okay. Anybody else? One more. I will not let you out until one more person speaks.
Something that came to mind about the self and what Anna was describing is, in a culture where you're so pressured to go by society's needs, it's like I really enjoy hearing about this, because it reminds me of St. Catherine of Siena and what she said about being who you're made to be, and you'll set this world on fire.
Yeah. Luke said, where it departs so much from what the world says to us. And it reminds him of St. Catherine of Siena, who said, if you are what you should be, you'll set the world on fire, or be what you're called to be, and you'll set the world on fire. And again, to me, it's like, I'm always reminded that we are fully equipped with this. Like it's not that we have to strive continually to acquire what we need. It's like we have to chisel away at the things that have been burdening us and get back to our original call. That it's already within us. So it's like rediscovering our truest selves instead of, climbing some ladder that we need to climb. Anybody else inspired to speak? Well, I hope that you will consider yourself as a true gift to the world, and use yourself as a gift, of course, as a subject, not an object, but that you will see yourself as a gift. It's a hard thing to do, to recognize the gifts in ourselves and to share them with others, but it's really like what we've been asked to do. So you have to see yourself as a gift. It's not optional. And also again, the call to see each other as gifts and to receive each other, I think is a big one for everybody to consider. So I'm going to close us with a prayer. And again, this Thursday is a class on natural family planning. Monday will be marriage as a sign. And then next Thursday, to close out our month on theology of the body, will be our marriage panel. So I hope you'll figure out ways to tune into some of those. And our July flyer should go out this week as well for July classes. So let's pray together. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. God, I thank you so much for the gift that you have given us in creating the world, not out of necessity, but out of love. Please help us to take joy in that, to have gratitude for the gift that is this world, that is each person, the gift that is ourselves. And I ask that you help us to have your eyes for ourselves, to see ourselves as true gifts to the world, to each other, in intimate relationships or in relationship with strangers. Help us to truly understand what it means to be a gift and to receive other people as gifts, and help us in doing so to transform the world. In your holy and precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Leanne?
Yes.
This is just a funny on the aside.